Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedom and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country. In the courtrooms of America, Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedom.
Today is the National Day of Prayer, and now more than ever, America needs prayer for spiritual renewal and for our liberties, all of which are at stake. Well, Liberty Counsel had a great victory in Miami, North Miami, in fact, where today the Day of Prayer will in fact take place because Liberty Counsel intervened and stopped what could have been a silent day of prayer. Hi, I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me to talk about the National Day of Prayer in this victory in North Miami, Florida, is Matt Barber, Vice President of Liberty Counsel Action. Matt, in Miami, we had a situation where there was a vote of 4-1 to have the National Day of Prayer there allowed by a private group, and then there was some controversy. They went back and voted again and voted 3-2 to have this National Day of Prayer in North Miami. And fortunately, now we do have the National Day of Prayer taking place in North Miami today. And of course, the Day of Prayer is taking place in the capital and all over the country.
Yeah, it's a wonderful day. Prayer, of course, built this nation. Our founding fathers at the Constitutional Convention prayed because they had reached an impasse, and it was prayer that actually got them through that impasse and was responsible for the founding of the greatest nation in history. But Matt, again, our friends at the Freedom from Religion Foundation, a radical anti-Christian organization, are up to their mischief, and they tried to throw a wrench in the mix here and tried to derail the National Day of Prayer in Miami, and we were able to educate properly the city council and everyone about their First Amendment rights, and so the Day of Prayer continues.
Well, what we have in the city of North Miami, Florida, it loans its sound truck and also its event staff and certain public property to local nonprofits free of charge. It does it across the board, no matter what your viewpoint is. By an initial vote of 4-1, the North Miami City Council approved the same arrangement for the Mission Miami's National Day of Prayer event. But the action was put back on the agenda. Why? Because the Freedom from Religion, as you mentioned, Matt, Foundation sent a letter complaining that this National Day of Prayer was taking place. Now, this was on public property, but it was sponsored by private individuals, and the city of North Miami allows other people of different viewpoints, secular and whatever viewpoint, to use the same kind of facilities and same opportunities. But when these people wanted to have this same facility for a day of prayer, Freedom from Religion Foundation sent a threatening letter which was filled with misinformation. They decided to reconsider this because they didn't want to be sued. They want to make sure they were in the right. Liberty Counsel was contacted. We sent a letter to the North Miami City Council explaining what the law was, pointing out that the Freedom from Religion Foundation letter was simply wrong, and they voted again 3-2 to continue with the National Day of Prayer and allow these private individuals to actually engage in the National Day of Prayer, which is taking place today.
Well, the United States Supreme Court has been very clear time and time again that if any government entity, government agency opens up to allow a public forum, Matt, that they cannot discriminate against viewpoints simply because they happen to be a religious viewpoint. The ACLU, even in their own promotional materials, has said that religion has to be singled out and treated literally, quote, treated differently, singled out for discrimination, which could not be further from the truth. The Establishment Clause of the First Amendment to the United States Constitution, Matt, as you know, was established simply to disallow Congress from voting for a official federal religion like Great Britain had the Anglican Church. That's it. Well, it has been perverted and misapplied over the years to essentially single out a religious faith, Christian faith particularly, for discrimination. That simply isn't the case, though.
And while you said the law is pretty clear, and it is very clear, if the city of North Miami allowed these other private persons or groups to use this facility and have the same opportunity for, say, a secular meeting or secular event, but then denied it to this group because of its religious content, it would have been violating the First Amendment. Liberty Counsel would have filed suit against the city of Miami on behalf of Mission Miami and others, and we would have won that case because the Supreme Court has clearly said when government has a public venue like that they open up for expressive activity, then they can't exclude from that same venue people or groups simply because of their Christian or religious viewpoint. And that's what they would have been doing. That's what Freedom from Religion Foundation wanted to do. And in fact, that would have been unconstitutional. So we would have won. The good news is that the National Day of Prayer in North Miami has gone on successfully, and we're having days of prayer all over the country, including in Washington, D.C., where I am today. In fact, today, Washington, D.C., and around the country, we're having national days of prayer celebrating the fact that America was founded upon prayer and asking God to intervene in this country. And there are forces in this country, like Freedom from Religion Foundation, that don't want people to pray for America, that think that that is wrong. And yet our country was founded, as you mentioned, on prayer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're all cut from the same cloth. All these anti-theist groups, not just any religion, particularly the Christian religion, primarily the ACLU, Freedom from Religion Foundation, People for the American Way, Americans United for Separation of Church and State. These are radical, so-called progressive groups that hate God. It's just as simple as that. They hate truth, the truth of Scripture, and they hate that our history, our United States history, is rooted and built upon a foundation of Judeo-Christian tradition, and that the worldview within which the constitutional framework was created, the framework of the Constitution, was a Judeo-Christian worldview. Well, they're trying to change all that, and for the first thing they have to do in order to accomplish their goals, to reinvent in America and their own secular humanist self-image, is to shut up Christians, to silence Christians, push them over to the fringes and to the margins, and to silence certainly the day of prayer, as well as prayer in schools and in any other public forum around the country.
Well, we were a few years ago involved in a situation also in South Florida, over near the Boca Raton, Fort Lauderdale area, and they wanted to have a National Day of Prayer. And there was some resistance from people in the community, and we ultimately got involved and assisted them. Ultimately, they were able to finally move forward. And now, last year, I don't know what the numbers are for this year, they had over 2,000 people at their prayer breakfast with all of the different public officials, local officials there coming for the National Day of Prayer in this area near Fort Lauderdale, Boca Raton, Florida. But, you go back to the founding of this country, and we see that during the post-revolution, where they got together and they were trying to debate what kind of constitutional form of government or what kind of government we should have, it was about ready to fall apart. There was as many agreements as there were disagreements, and so there was just no progress being made. And Benjamin Franklin stood up in the midst of that, and he had that famous speech about prayer. And we can't build this house without God. Otherwise, we're building like Babel, and it'll ultimately collapse. Mm-hmm. And he implored people to pray. They convened for not just a short prayer meeting, but for a several-day prayer meeting. Yeah. Came back, and out of that experience, there was unity, and the Constitution of the United States was ultimately born.
Well, the secular revisionists are trying to create a new history and whitewash our real United States history. And we're seeing a pattern develop here. The secular humanists seek to discriminate against Christians. Liberty Counsel steps in and intervenes, gets involved. We educate the individuals who are about to unconstitutionally discriminate, and then we move forward, and the Constitution is defended. We're seeing this over and over again, Matt, and I'm just glad that we're here to intervene and step in and get in between anti-Christian groups like the Freedom from Religion Foundation when they engage in their, as I pointed out, their mischief.
Well, many of you may have actually attended a prayer breakfast or been a part of the National Day of Prayer already today. But I encourage you, whether you have or not, to take this day with your family and your community and your church friends to pray for this country, pray for repentance on this nation, and also for renewal. In order for our liberties to survive, we need a spiritual renewal. The American Revolution would not have happened if it weren't for the Great Awakening. That spiritual renewal gave birth to the American Revolution and ultimately to the United States of America. Pray for this country now more than ever. we need prayer across this country. And God promised if His people will ultimately humble themselves, turn from their sins, and seek His face and pray, He will intervene and He will heal our land. Go to Liberty Counsel's website, lc.org, for more information. You can order the book Original Intent by David Barton. It's about the founding documents, and also the New England Primer, a book that was used in American public education for nearly 200 years. You can order both those books at the website, lc.org.
You have been listening to Faith and Freedom with Liberty Counsel. We hope that we have motivated you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedom. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email updates. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.